SCP-2853 Object Class, Euclid Special Containment Procedures. Due to the nature of SCP-2853, containment is only partially feasible. A perimeter is to be established in a 250-meter radius of SCP-2853 and heavily monitored for activity. All civilian access points should be appropriately closed down under the guise of military operations. Since the events of Incident 2853-11A, the containment measures have been updated to adapt to, redacted. See Addendum 2853-1A. Description: SCP-2853 is a dilapidated two-story house located approximately km outside of Oregon. No known records of the construction or ownership of SCP-2853 exist at this time. Despite the degrading architecture, the house is sealed completely, and all attempts to break or peer through the windows have failed. For approximately 10-20 minutes per day, the front and back doors of SCP-2853 unlock and open via an unknown means. The doors will close and reseal themselves after this interval has passed. If a human enters SCP-2853 during this period, the doors will immediately seal themselves until the next day. It is unknown if this effect applies to willing entry of other animals, as fauna explicitly avoid the location. This is likely due in part by infrasonic frequencies recorded throughout the surrounding area, which cause an expected physiological response in test animals as well as D-class personnel during exploratory efforts. Multiple attempts have been made to survey the inside layout of SCP-2853 and have yielded additional data about the anomalous effects of the house, as described below. Record of Exploration Logs 2853A through C, Exploration 2853A Subject, D3248 Abstract, on @ hours. SCP-2853's doors were observed opening. 1 D-class personnel equipped with audio-visual monitoring systems and 1 day's worth of rations was sent to observe the inside of the house. Immediately after entry via the back entrance, the doors of SCP-2853 swung shut with a loud slam heard only through the audio feedback of D3248's recording equipment. D3248, startled, ouch. I knew the door would shut on me, but the thing damn near took my foot off. I guess it couldn't wait to have company. Control, noted. Please activate your camera and headlamp and begin observations. Camera flicks on, revealing the interior to match the age and wear of the outside structure. Heavy amounts of dust coat all surfaces and cloud the windows. Despite the current time of day, the headlamp is deemed unnecessary, as the house is illuminated by a dull daytime light coming in through the shrouded windows. D3248 is seen attempting to clear one to see outside, but the layers of sediment do not seem to give way at all. D3248 starts to move around the current room, panning the camera for control. Several doors are present, as well as a set of stairs leading to the second floor. The interior is mostly unremarkable, containing a worn couch bearing a faded floral pattern aside a small table. Several chairs are skewed about haphazardly. Cobwebs and dust layer everything, including the walls and some various gardening tools kept by the rear door. D3248, pretty drab house. The air in here is fucking stale. Control, please observe the rest of the house. 3248. D3248, yeah. D3248 is seen choosing the first door to the left of the entrance. Upon entering, the door opens to a small kitchen and dining area that would comfortably fit a family of 4. Dust once again coats all surfaces. D3248's movements are seen kicking up particles from the floor. Subject takes a minute to brush off his clothes and coughs several times. D3248. Now, I'm not one for house cleaning, but this dust seems a bit excessive. Ah, my eye. Hold up. D3248 takes the water bottle out of his rations kit and presumably flushes his eye with a small amount of camera. D3248. Better, continuing on. Subject is seen moving around the kitchen, checking cupboards and inspecting the room. Sets of plates and tarnished silverware are found among the items, but nothing of interest aside from the heavy accumulation of dust, approximately 1 centimeter on most surfaces, even in the interior of the cabinets. D3248 stops several times to cough and flush his eyes. D3248. God, this place is the worst. How long until the door opens again? Control, another 22 hours, probably. D3248. Jesus Christ. I gotta save some of this water for drinking, my throat is dry as hell. This sink doesn't work. Control, noted, again. Please continue. D3248. Laughs. You guys don't give a shit about me, do you? Dumb question, sorry. D3248 continues around the perimeter of the kitchen. Camera shows uneaten food on the dining table. Despite the heavy coating of dust, no mold is observed on the food itself. Mild camera and audio interference is seen at control, though GPS location still reads in accordance to D3248's position. D3248, you guys hear that? Or feel it? Control, please be more descriptive of your surroundings. D3248, okay, fuck you too buddy. It was like the entire house shook, and my tinnitus suddenly got really bad. Let's finish clearing these rooms, I want to know I'm alone in here. Control, thermal readings indicate you are the only person in the house. D3248, do ghosts show up on those things? Control, no. I guess they don't. D3248, sighs, after finishing with the kitchen. D3248 moves back into the main room and takes the next door on his left. A small bathroom fills the camera's view. Subject is seen hastily checking the sink for water, but the tap yields nothing. D3248 moves to the shower and toilet respectively, both having the same result. D3248 coughs. There's so much dust. So much. Control, try to avoid breathing it in, conserve your remaining water. You'll be fine. D3248 does not respond and leaves the room. Another door exists to its left, but has been nailed shut with boards. After a moment of hesitation, subject opts to take the stairs to the second floor and proceeds quickly. The second floor landing comes into view and extends in both directions. At least 3 other rooms are present. The accumulation of dust on this floor is at least 3 centimeters high. Large amounts are kicked up from D3248's movement as his breathing becomes ragged. A low groaning sound in the 15 to 20 Hz range is picked up in the background of D3248's recording equipment. The camera jerks suddenly, cutting temporarily, possibly due to D3248 panicking. Quality of the audio degrades further but remains functioning. D3248, distorted, is again, that fucking noise, distorted, so hot, dry too. Worse than, coughs, below, like seriously can't stand this air, distorted, last of my fucking water too, fucking fuck. What video contact is re-established, but the camera is pointed straight down. The unusually large amount of dust on the floor appears to be ebbing and flowing like water. Subject appears to shudder and fall, gasping for air. Camera becomes inoperable again due to worsening static distortion. Audio recording still works to a degree, although D3248's voice is hoarse and dry. D3248, distorted, Gotta get me out of here. It distorted in my fucking lungs. I can feel it. Racking cough. Fuck, help me. Gasping. It's in my eyes and in my lungs. And the wind. Where's the fucking wind coming from? A loud drone is heard before the audio is overcome by static and cuts abruptly. Subject's GPS tracking fails and D3248 is not recovered. SCP-2853's doors open ahead of schedule. Exploration 2853B Subject, D8113 Abstract, on -- at : SCP-2853's doors open once more, and 1D class personnel is prepared for entry. Given the air quality and nature of the house observed in the previous log, it was deemed appropriate to equip the subject with an air filtration suit and several extra bottles of water. Upon entry via the front door, the house loudly seals. The slam is once again only heard through the microphone on D8113's person. Subject activates camera without instruction and begins observation. Light level confirmed is the same as before, despite the high sun. D8113, I can already tell, this place is full of laughs, isn't it? Gonna be a grand old time in Dusty Musty McMansion. Honestly, this kind of reminds me of my Aunt Cheryl's Control. D8113, please commence your search of the house. D8113, sorry, Doc. I babble when I'm nervous. I've had the willies since we pulled into the driveway. Control, it's fine. Subject takes a quick loop of the entry room, which is identical to the previous test, aside from the gardening tools, which have been seemingly used recently. Dust is only beginning to form on the dirt-covered trowels. Control notes this but does not tell the subject. Upon entering the kitchen, more changes are noted, mostly in the form of moved kitchenware and the absence of food on the table. Dust still heavily coats all surfaces. D8113, I takes back what I said about my aunt, even she couldn't let the dust build this much. This stuff must have been here for, what, 200 years. This counter has about an inch of dust on it. Camera feed confirms the increase. Dust has doubled since last exploration attempt, and particulates in the air are heavier. D8113's filtration system is checked and affirmed as still functioning. Subject finishes in the kitchen and moves to the next door as well. The bathroom is still present and in its state of disrepair. Dust coats the floor in a thick layer, approximately 7 centimeters high. D8113 steps cause a large cloud of dust to bloom into the air. Subject backs out of the room and closes the door, wiping off her suit. D8113, throat's getting dry, gonna remove the helmet and take a drink. Control, keep your eyes closed and breathe as little as possible outside of the air filter. D8113, Roger Dodger. Subject removes helmet, noting the layer of dust forming on the top, and quickly takes a drink before putting the helmet back on. D8113, good enough. I could feel the dust in my eyebrows. Control is unsure whether this is a joke or not. The infrasonic groan heard in the previous log is picked up through the recording equipment, although D8113 does not seem to notice this. Subject notes the door to her left, which is still boarded shut. Returning to the entry room, the camera quality begins to degrade lightly. The room contains at least 7 centimeters more of accumulation than when last observed. D8113, this is abnormal. And the air is so dry and hot. Subject takes several drinks of water and dons her helmet again, stifling a small cough. She focuses on the stairs, which appear to have been hidden under a deluge of dust. Video interference dies down a bit as D8113 ascends the stairs. No sign of the last D-class is found. The landing has been hidden under almost 20 centimeters of dust, and every movement stirs up clouds of gray particles. D8113, coughing, this stuff is harsh. The suit helps though. I'm going to take this room here. A small bedroom presents itself to D8113. It appears to have been once owned by a small child. Dust has been swept against the bed and dresser like dunes, almost 60 centimeters high. D8113 fords through the accumulation toward the dresser. Setting the camera down, subject is seen checking the drawers, coughing. D8113, Are you sure this suit can handle this? Control, it's the best we've got. D8113 stops her search for a second and looks around. After a moment, she resumes. D8113 okay. I found some clothes, think they're for a girl. Yeah, coughs, small one, maybe 5. Ha, found some papers underneath. Oh. Control, what is it? D8113, data redacted. See Addendum 2853-1B, Control. Noted. Thank you. D8113, nervously, that's enough for this room. Camera distorts, static suddenly returning despite no obvious changes. Subject gathers the documents and picks up the camera, turning to leave. D8113 appears to stop halfway and aims the camera down for control. Dust rolls against the floor in waves. D8113, what the heck? Moving to the door, 8113 is apparently wading against a current of dust, approximately waist high. D8113 passes through the door frame to find dust pouring in from another room. D8113, coughing, this is bizarre, but I'm okay. I think it camera feed, audio feed and GPS positioning all fail simultaneously. SCP-2853's doors open abruptly. After a period of radio silence, D8113 is considered lost. Due to the information gathered from the documents D8113 found, this sudden disconnection is probably due to data redacted. See Addendum 2853-1B. Exploration 2853 See Subject, D1446 Abstract, when the doors opened again on D1446 was sent to investigate, equipped with the same gear, including one can of compressed air. Upon entry, the doors swung shut loudly, as per usual. D1446 activates their camera and takes a look around. Major differences are noted in the interior, mostly in the form of what appears to be the remnants of a struggle. Furniture is capsized, torn or broken. The gardening tools are scattered on the floor, one or two covered in what appears to be dried blood. Dust is negligible, a minor coating that defies previous logs. D1446, okay. So what should I do now? Control, please explore the house to the best of your ability. D1446, easy enough. Problems with the video feed cause Control to pause and re-establish the link. Subject finds a windowsill to place the camera on and waves to Control while the video broadcast is confirmed. Once finished, D1446 is instructed to ignore the bottom floor and focus primarily on the upper floor. Subject begins to move but pauses abruptly. D1446, fuck. What was that? Control, what was it? D1446, it sounded like someone was knocking on the walls. Pauses, there it is again. Audio feed does not pick up any such noise. D1446, there's a pattern to it too. Let me listen. Audio feed records silence for about 15 seconds. D1446, 3 short knocks, 3 slow knocks, 3 short knocks again. Fucking weird. Control notes that this is Morse code for SOS but does not tell the subject. D1446 hurries to the stairs and ascends rapidly. No signs of heavy dust accumulation on the landing. Instead, a trail of blood runs down the length of the hall, splashed or smeared on the walls. After some encouragement, subject begins to explore the hallway, often glancing around nervously. D-1446 passes the child's room and looks inside, revealing an otherwise unremarkable accumulation surrounding the degrading furnishings. Once again, no sign of the previous D-class individuals is seen. Leaving quickly, subject takes the next available door on the right, leading to what appears to be the master bedroom. Blood coats the walls and furniture, red and nearly fresh. Dust is heavily accumulated in this room, swept against the walls and furniture in dunes a meter high. On the bed are the eviscerated remains of at least 2 individuals, neither of which are the missing subjects. A dusty revolver lies on the ground, surrounded by spent casings. D-1446, oh, God. What the hell did this to you? D-1446's video feed distorts. A small breeze is seen moving the particles around behind D-1446's person. The change in the stagnant air causes the subject to spin in a panic. Nothing exists besides a sudden accumulation of dust, flowing around D-1446's ankles. D-1446, this is weird. Tell me this is normal, right? Happens all the time in this place, yeah? Control, the suit is enough to keep you safe. D-1446 scoffed and wades through the dust into the landing. A small bathroom lies across the hall, door ajar. Dust is seen overflowing from the toilet in a rapid torrent. D-1446, yup, totally normal. Video feed becomes intermittent, but reveals no changes in the surrounding area. Another room is visible on the landing, and D-1446 progresses towards it in the rapidly rising levels of dust. Upon opening the door, a small study comes into view. Worn books occupy the shelves adjacent to a plain wooden desk. D-1446 closes the door behind them, struggling against the river of dust forcing its way into the room, and takes a look around. A small globe occupies the corner of the room. Upon approaching it and clearing the dust, it is apparent that the globe does not accurately represent Earth. D-1446, weird place. A loud bang is heard in the recording equipment on the subject's person, causing them to glance around. D-1446, sounds like it came from downstairs. I'm staying here. Control approves this and instructs D-1446 to inspect the books on the shelves. Several pages crumble upon touch, but the topics range from ritualism and the occult to music theory and children's books. Another bang is heard, louder this time. The rafters bend and creak, as if under heavy winds. D-1446 appears to peer around more, revealing nothing. Video feed breaks down momentarily and returns, subject now leafing through some documents on the desk. D-1446, this place. Man, is it giving me bad vibes? An explosion in the 160 decibels range is heard throughout the entire containment site. Subject wheels around, the closed door having buckled and caved due to the ceiling high amount of dust cascading into the room. A loud drone is heard in the background as the accumulation of dust blasts outward in a violent slipstream, smashing into D-1446 and throwing them against the bookshelves. The camera is thrown against the ground and visual contact is lost for 30 seconds. When re-established, the feed shows high amounts of particulates swirling through the room in unseen winds. Screaming is heard, followed by tearing and gasping, eventually culminating in a wet thump. Wheezing persists for several minutes before growing silent. Video feed shows high amounts of dust flowing throughout the house still. Slow steps are heard from another room, as well as several other bangs and groans. Steps grow louder until humanoid legs seemingly comprised of dust pass by the camera's view. No noise is heard afterwards, aside from mild winds. Contact persists until exactly : when GPS, audio and video fail simultaneously. D-1446 considered lost. Addendum 2853-1A Item hash, SCP-2853 Object Class, Key to Special Containment Procedures. Due to the nature of SCP-2853, containment is unfeasible. A perimeter is to be established in a 1,000-meter radius of SCP-2853 and heavily monitored for activity. All civilian access points should be appropriately closed down under the guise of military operations. A containment chamber should be built around the house, with an airlock situated outside each of the doors of SCP-2853. Since the events of Incident 2853-11A, the containment measures have been updated several times to adapt to the ongoing growth of SCP-2853-1. Despite this, containment breach is imminent, and research into reversing the effects of SCP-2853 is ongoing. Description: SCP-2853 is a dilapidated two-story house located approximately km outside of Oregon. Despite the degrading architecture, the house is sealed completely, and all attempts to break or peer through the windows have failed. For approximately 10-20 minutes per day, the front and back doors of SCP-2853 unlock and open via an anomalous means. The doors will close and reseal themselves after this interval has passed. After the events of Incident 2853-11A, the doors of SCP-2853 remain perpetually unlocked and closed. At no time should anyone be permitted to open the doors of SCP-2853. If a human enters SCP-2853 during this period, the doors will immediately seal themselves until the next day. During this period, the interior will begin meshing itself into another version of the house, generally accepted to be parallel universes of the same building. Over time, contact with those inside the house degrades and ceases as an alternate version of the house replaces the interior of the current one. It is unknown if this effect applies to willing entry of other animals, as fauna explicitly avoid the location. This is likely due in part by infrasonic frequencies recorded throughout the surrounding area, which cause an expected physiological response in test animals as well as D-class personnel during exploratory efforts. If no one is in any instance of the house, the doors will open to accept a new individual. Likewise, the doors remain closed and unlocked if the subject stays alive within the house for the entirety of the cycle. Leaving the house during this period exits into its respective dimension. Most alternate dimensions experienced this way have been apparently destroyed by large quantities of SCP-2853-1. SCP-2853-1 refers to an anomalous accumulation of dust found within the house. Testing has revealed that the dust itself is comprised of many different materials, but is generally identified as finely ground biological matter, mostly human. Clouds of SCP-2853-1 are particularly harsh to the respiratory system of humans, often resulting in suffocation over a period of minutes to hours, depending on the air quality of the affected area. The dust itself is seemingly indestructible, and attempts to destroy the particulates have ultimately ended in failure. When exposed to strong winds, SCP-2853-1 can exhibit erosion capabilities that far exceed those of typical dust storms. The effect can be extremely painful and often lethal. While there is no confirmation that SCP-2853-1 is sentient or alive in any traditional sense, SCP-2853-1 often exhibits flows and currents, accumulating in groups and moving on its own accord. How this behavior is accomplished is unknown. SCP-2853-1 has no identified source, but recovered materials suggest the presence of a separate entity, one that may have caused multiple XK-class end-of-the-world scenarios in alternate realities linked to SCP-2853. Incident Report 2853-11A, at on common hours and minutes into exploration 2853-C. SCP-2853 broke from its previous cyclical activities for the first time. SCP-2853, which had been sealed since the beginning of D-1446's entry, audibly unlocked and, minutes later, emitted a noise comparable to a large explosion and splintering wood. The house experienced no change on the outside, but has remained in a closed but unlocked stasis, suggesting an occupied state from within the house. It is unknown why this has occurred, or who may be within the house at this time. Given the dust that is now accumulating around the rear door, this change in behavior should be observed closely and maintained for as long as possible while better forms of containment are prepared. Since then, noises including knocks, taps and scratches have been heard on the doors themselves. Upgrade Akita classification approved. Addendum 2853 1B Record of documents and excerpts from Exploration 2853B, taken from video feed. Bold.jpg photograph recovered from Exploration 2853B. Earlier, if you're reading this, then I am dead. I tried to save us. I really tried. Maybe it worked. We were running low on food and went into what was once common. Nothing was left. It was just gone. Raised to dust. So I came back from that wasteland to the only thing left standing, this house. Whatever happened when GWRGR set up that perimeter has changed these walls. I told you it wasn't so, but you could see different. I know you did. The light in the windows, never changing. I kept you to your room, but you are such a bright child. I never should have trusted him. No, we did it together. We had to. When it was done, he said it would be better. It wasn't. Day by day, every time we opened the doors, we'd hoped for a better world than this, for all of us, for you. For every day, the dust grew higher outside. Even sealed, I could taste it from within. Pale dust and empty air. We would always leave to the same, come back to the same. Same but different. Different, but the same. Nothing but dust and death outside and in. GWRGR was restless, and I could see the gray in his eyes, clouding his vision, his thoughts. Felt it in mine too, but he was worse. So we kept looking for a way out. We opened those doors, over and over. One hand on each knob, 2 new worlds every day. It was all the same. A world of dust. Another. Another. A world of ashes and eyeballs. A world of tar and boiling blood. Dust again. A blank world. A dark world, full of whispers and a man with a wide grin. Dust. Dust. More dust. Cobwebs. They fill my mind, like he before me. I can't keep us both here. We've already hurt too many. Forgive me.